Hello, everybody. Welcome to this panel. My name is James Ong. I'll be hosting today's panel by London Tech Week. The topic we're going to cover today is called 5G. What is it for startup? My name is James Ong. I'm from Artificial Intelligence International Institute, also called AIII. We are the institute that focuses on advocating sustainable AI. I'm glad to be moderating the session today. Today we have three distinguished guests: Zahid Gadari, we have Jessica Ocampos, and then we have Chan Liu. Uh, Welcome, our three distinguished speaker.
Thank you.
Zahid, I'd like you to open the floor to you to do a few minutes of introductions, and then followed by Jessica and Chan.
Great. Thank you, James. Um, my name is Zahid Ghadiali, and I am the founder, and I'm a senior analyst and a consultant with 3G 4G. So 3G 4G, with 3G 4G, I've been doing this thing for over 17 years, and my main focus is look at how the industry is going, where is it going, what technologies are we adopting. And when I started, 3G was actually quite new, so I thought like, if I put 3G and 4G, that's future proofing the name. And I didn't realize that in 2021 I'll be looking at 6G along with 5G, of course. So yeah, so that's briefly about me. In addition, I also work with a US startup called Parallel Wireless, where I look at Open RAN and trends with Open RAN. But in the way, they all tie together because when we think about 3G or 4G or 5G, right? We are also thinking about infrastructure, and open networks is just one part of it. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful. I hope your business is doing so well. One of these days, you're going to rename your company into 5G, 6G, or 7G, right?
Absolutely. As soon as 3GPP, and I'm sure you know 3GPP, as soon as they rename, I will be renaming my company as well.
Wonderful, very dynamic. I'm glad to have an expert like you who know
Thank you.
all the telecom, 5G, 4G so well. Yeah, look forward to you sharing some of the trend later on.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Jessica to introduce herself.
Great. Thanks so much for the invitation and really nice to meet you and have you as a host. I am Dr. Jessica Ocampos. I am the co-founder and CEO of CamNexus. CamNexus is a startup company from the University of Cambridge. And through CamNexus, we are developing IoT solutions that are enabling companies, particularly in the water, food, and energy sectors, to be able to uh, tackle their sustainability targets through real-time monitoring and automatic alert and notification systems. I am here based in Cambridge, and I have also I work very closely with some policymakers in the area of innovation, trying to support the digital transformation particularly in developing countries.
I see. Wow, interesting. Look, you graduated from University of Cambridge, is that
Yeah.
right? For your doctorate? Very impressive. Look forward to know more about what you're doing. Next, I'd like to invite Chan to share about what his background and what he's doing.
Awesome. Thanks, James, for the intro. And yes, my name is John. I'm the founder and CEO of Extend Robotics. Prior to Extend, I was the researcher in Imperial College working on autonomous robotic software development. And that's after I graduated from Southampton for my PhD. So really for Extend Robotics, what we're doing is to develop a human-robot interface software for anyone that doesn't have to be a robotic expert to operate robots remotely from anywhere. It's either teleoperating or programming the robots in an intuitive and immersive fashion. So we utilize the virtual reality technology to make sure it is a very natural and an immersive interface. Yeah, so we're quite special robotic company in the sense that we are human centered. So our aim is to extend human capabilities beyond physical presence, using robotic technology. Ultimately, we want to benefit humanity with robots, not using robots to compete with human. Thanks.
Wow. I like the purpose that you stated in your business, right? To enhance humanity. It sounds like you are, if I understand correctly, you are kind of providing the kind of an extra operating software layer to enable how people can use robotic in a more efficient way. And I'm sure with the 5G telecommunication, it's going to be important to enhance what you're doing, right? Thank you
Exactly.
so much for introducing about yourself. I'm glad to be here and learn from all of you. I'd like to start our panel discussion with inviting Zahid to share about the current trend right now. In fact, everybody there has been a lot of hype about 5G a few years ago, especially when I was in China, right? There was a lot of hype. Now I think the technology is getting more and more mature, right, Zahid? So give us the truth, right, Zahid? Where things are really are,
Mm.
when is it going to be ready? What kind of benefit you'll bring? No, can I really go if I buy a 5G phone? Is it really going to give me all the benefits? Maybe love to hear from you, Zahid.
Yeah, thank you. So that's actually an interesting question. And you know what I tell people is like, you have, and I'm not blaming anyone, but you have the research community. When the research is going on, they have very grand visions. And then the standards come and they set the standards. And you realize, like, well, I can't do a lot of things with what technology is available today. So you say like, well, all these things which was sort of like a hype, they moved to 6G. So now the hype is with 6G currently. If you think about like holographs or teleportation, those kind of things. But as far as 5G is concerned, so I'm sure like most people are aware there are two flavors of 5G. So you can say the first one is the 5G non-standalone, which is like a combination of 5G and 4G. So some people call it the 4G plus plus kind of thing, right? This
Okay.
is the kind of 5G we have today. So you can get faster speeds. So whether it's on your phone or whether it's the fixed wireless access, you are creating hotspots. That's the only real advantage you can get. In most countries, you can get faster speeds, connectivity. But what's really coming is when we have 5G standalone, and a lot of operators are actually adopting 5G standalone. So, for example, two operators in Germany adopted it. Vodafone in many different countries is saying we are going to move to 5G standalone. And what 5G standalone does is it brings you the real power. So along with speeds, it brings you the low latency, which you need, right? So especially with things like robotics, you probably need lower latency if you want to do it in the real time. And in addition to that, you have capable uh, a facility to do like a very massive machine type communication or IoT thing. So, but the IoT thing is going on a slightly slower track. So I think the focus is basically like EMBB or the enhanced mobile broadband which we have today, the ultra reliable and low latency communication, which will be enabled by the 5G standalone networks with the 5G core. And then, of course, you also have the IoT things working in the background. But one of the other interesting things is the network slicing, which everybody keeps talking about. So in theory, you can create a slice, right? You can create a slice for an enterprise. You can create a slice for like some consumers. But slicing can't happen until you have 5G core. So which is again the standalone 5G. So yes, right now we are in the process of transitioning from the non-standalone 5G to the standalone 5G. And some operators, they will have to run both these networks in parallel for the time being because, some of the initial devices didn't support the standalone. So, you are stuck with like, supporting 5G on the non-standalone. So yes, when we move to standalone, you will start seeing a lot more new applications. Uh, you know, and I think what's limiting a lot of these new applications is our imagination. So, let's say if I give you a connectivity, which is like a perfect connectivity, and you can do anything with that connectivity, you have zero latency. What else can you do? And I think people have to start thinking that way. So maybe the initial version of 5G won't give you that today, But in few years time, when you have the standalone 5G, and of course, I should also mention that there is also a 5G advanced, which is undergoing the standard. So of course, it's not coming until 2023 earliest, the standards, and but people need to be prepared with that thing. So they should be prepared that all these advancements are happening.
Thank you, thank you. I actually learned a lot from what you just described. Actually, as somebody who's not in the 5G area, I always get confused, right? Because I've been hearing different story, right? There is this part about increase the bandwidth. Then there's the part about you can do a lot. It has support high density with a lot of devices.
Mm.
And then you also have the part about you actually increase a lot of high availability to make sure it doesn't. So actually,
Yeah.
it's quite confusing for many people on the audience. But I think maybe we can get more clarification from you. Now, I mean, all of you are based in London right now, right? Basically, and my understanding is that like Cambridge Wireless, they are actually trying to build out some sort of a 5G network to support all the community. So where just curiously, right, Zahid, where is the network right now? At what
So I
level?
think I think I'm not very sure, but maybe I don't know if Jessica or Chang, you are involved in that. It's in, if I'm not mistaken, it's in the Science Park in Cambridge, where Cambridge Wireless offices are, and that network is available for any SMEs who want to actually come and try out, like using 5G network for their application. So I don't know, Jessica or Chang, do you have more info on that?
Um, if I may, yes. So it was actually a process of selection of companies. So we were applying in a in a competitive environment to as companies in order to have access to this accelerator program. We were one of the three companies. So together with Chang, he was also part of the second company,
Oh, I
and
see.
and we have access to the infrastructure provided by Huawei in the TUS Park, which is one of the buildings that are based in the science park, and they provide access to infrastructure for companies. So it's this was the type of support in terms of the infrastructure. I don't know, Chang, if you want to complement some.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe before Chan, I'd like to ask maybe a question from Jessica. When for your solution based on, I understand based on IoT for water and energy, right? Basically, that means where are you in terms of your application right now? In terms of any pilot, then how much does it depend, or how much that 5G will enhance your offering? Basically,
Okay.
I'm
Very good
curious about.
question. Yes. So, well, we have already 4 pilots running in, actually, they are in Latin America. We have in Chile and in Brazil. And the test bed in Cambridge allow us to have another pilot case here in the UK. Our solution, as I said, and I agreed with Sahid in terms of how IoT appears in this ecosystem, no, in this landscape. From the inception of CamNexus, and because of the expertise of the team, we have been working in the industrial sector, and actually I was a user of technology, for example, in the oil and gas industry. So I
Okay.
know the frustrations and the pains when your core business is not digital, but you have to introduce new technologies into your production and make sense of them. So it's not a trivial thing. Now I am in the other side. No, I am in the development side, developing these technologies. Therefore, I feel the pain and I know what they have been from the user perspective. Now, a very user also approach, as Chang has mentioned. So one of the things when we use we're talking about IoT in our case in particular was how we can make a more seamless transformation in the industry of these sensors technologies, but not just the sensors, and actually make sense with sensors or with the data from sensors. And that means to have the capability to connect the workers in the field with the data that is the right data. And that I think that last part of the connected the workers in the field with the right data for the right notification or an alert is where we feel and we think and we have proven how 5G can improve our offering. Because we have the capability to work with 4G or 3G or Wi-Fi or satellite if we just have our gateway connected to any of these possible infrastructure, so uplinks to any of them. But the 5G infrastructure, what we have tested, at least with this 5G testbed, was if we, for example, want to really generate a seamless communication with the user at the end, it can only happen maybe with this type of solutions. Moreover, if we look at the other side, the other end, which is in the sensor side, one of the things that we realized is, for example, we have a gateway, which is a low power communication. So we have two technologies here, the low power and the 5G. The low power side, we are considering a case where you have maybe a dense environment. So it's a large number of devices that are transmitting data. And what we have realized, if you have a kind of a dedicated path just for sensors, which doesn't saturate when you have other type of communication, other type of information, then you actually can give a reliable and high quality service to your users. And that is what we have identified with the 5G solutions.
Nice. That's just curious for your application, two dimension, right? For the IoT, do you do a lot of edge computing? Do you have to really do a lot of computing at the device level, or you need to retrieve all the data back to the central server to compute, where the network will matters a lot, right?
Yeah.
I think that is one. Second of all, is your solution mission critical, where if there's something bad, you need to know right away in a very reliable way and real time.
A critical asset, yes. So
Critical asset. Okay.
Exactly. So that's a key thing for us. Yeah.
Okay, understand. Now I have a better sense of what you're doing. Next, I would like to. IoT is a fixed, at least more or less, is not as mobile, right? Now we move to Chan, because he's dealing with robotics. Robotic means that this thing will be, I presume, will be moving around either on the ground or in the air, maybe on the water, right? So Chan, I'm sure you are looking at breakthrough technology based on I think, your doctorate dissertation or something like that, right? Love to hear from you. How does your solution transition from maybe 4G to 5G? What kind of differences does it make?
Yeah. So basically, for us, we are building this intuitive software for people to use. The software itself, the way this software make it intuitive is by combining this volumetric telepresence streaming pipeline that's been able to stream this structural data in addition to color information that's been able to represent it in VR environment in 3D. So this information basically require a lot of bandwidth to stream. So although we are developing the kind of the compression, pending compression streaming algorithm that enables reduction of the bandwidth requirement. However, even with that, it is reasonably big amount of data still to actually transmit it. So really the 5G that gives us this ability to stream this amount of data, say 20 megabits per second, data very reliably. Normally, this does also require uplink. for a network that's generally not offered by 4G in general. So with 5G, you really get this uplink of over 50 megabits per second, or even like 100 megabits per second. That really gives us this confidence that all these information could be streamed up. And also, in addition to that, this is per camera streaming. So being able to, if we're saying we could utilize the entire bandwidth that offers by 5G, so that's give us the ability to stream multiple cameras at the same time. That's giving people ultimate sense of immersion. So that's basically next level of user experience. So that's the bandwidth side. Sorry.
I see.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, Chan, is that your software will enable a lot of robots who are moving around, and because you're doing a lot of sensory to capture to camera a lot of structural or physical information. So you need to be able to capture them and transmit back basically quickly, and then so that because this thing is flying or is moving around, they need to have information back to the robot itself. Is that correct? Is that my understanding?
Yeah, so the task normally what we're doing is use like robotic arms, a high degree of freedom, say 6 degree of freedom robotic arms
I
that
see.
teleoperated from a remote location to do complex manipulation task. What we generally stack yours teleoperation that require this user to have a good sense of depth structure in the workspace. So normal video feed will not be able to give people enough sense of depth.
I see. So the real-time impact is actually important. Then, if I understand correctly, if you're dealing with one robot, is one issue, right? You're dealing lots of robot with high density is another challenge. If you're dealing with swarm computing, right? Lots of them needs to be coordinated, right? Is that another higher level of challenge where 5G can deliver even more value?
Yeah, I think that's where the bandwidth will give us. So say for example, each camera can stream will require 10 to 20 megabits per second. If the bandwidth of 5G would give us 100 megabits per second, so we can potentially run 5 cameras on one robot or 5 robots running together at the same time. So
okay, understand.
This is what we're looking at.
I'm going to come back to you with another question. When all these things become truly autonomous, and then there's another level of discussion. We talk about reliability, right? We're going to come back to that. Appreciate you guys have covered for the audience the kind of applications that you're doing, why 5G is relevant. Now I'm going to go back to Zahid again, right? He's the trend guy. He knows the technology, where the 5G technology is moving, right? So Zahid, seriously, there are lots of startup out there who be developing application like what Chan and Jessica are doing, right? How does the infrastructure, right, provider, right, and the application, where are they? How do you get them to be in sync? How do they work together? Right? I mean, through this acceleration program is part of it, right? How do you get them to sync up? Is the infrastructure ready, right? For example.
So this um, so I don't really know the exact setup in the CW in the Cambridge Wireless the testbed thing, but from what I would basically guess, looking at the requirements is you need to have a 5G core, to be able to deliver this kind of capabilities, because you sort of require very low latency, and then you require a lot of capacity. So you need to have a lot of spectrum, right? You need to have a 5G core, so you have low latency available. Now you can have these kind of setup in private networks, or maybe more like indoor networks today. But in the public networks, it's going to take a bit of time. But I think what these test beds enable you to do is you take your whatever you're trying to achieve, you take it and try it out there. By the time you are ready, the public infrastructure would catch up, and we hope they do. And then you can actually take your use case outdoors, and then you can try it out outdoors. But of course, there is going to be a lot of challenge. So when we are looking at UK, for example, the operators still don't have a lot of spectrum available. So when we
I see.
and you need to have at least like 100 megahertz of contiguous bandwidth available, and there is only unfortunately one operator in the UK who has that spectrum in C band available, without naming any names. But more spectrum needs to be available, and also in the millimeter wave. So when you have millimeter wave, right, when you're trying to create these kind of things, so like think about it, something like Chang has 10 robots at a train station. Okay, let's take example of London Paddington because it's always very busy and congested. Now, for the robots along with the consumers to be able to do 5G thing, you need to have a lot of different combinations of, like, the mid band spectrum, the low band spectrum, and the millimeter wave spectrum. So that can give you like huge bandwidth, and then you can actually be able to support a lot of more applications like this or use cases like this, and that's going to take a bit of time. But I think in the meantime, there are a lot of problems that need to be solved, and test beds are a great way to actually take your products and everything, and try them out and see what can be done today and what can be done in future.
I see. So it's actually not just about the technology readiness or infrastructure readiness, it's also about the policy, right? Policy to grant the necessary spectrum that you mentioned. Okay, good
Yeah,
to know.
so yeah, spectrum is like a lifeblood. So
I
people
see.
don't realize without much spectrum you can't do much.
But the government has to approve that, right? Basically, right? And they
Yeah, but
allocate.
it's not been allocated in millimeter wave, and some of the spectrum has been made available on like let's say the lightly licensed access. So companies that want to do some kind of a private network, in their buildings or in some factories, they can actually have a very pay little amount of money and get some spectrum to do a lot of things. But again, when you want to do things outdoor, this is where things become challenging. You need a lot of spectrum available, all kind of spectrum. So when we are talking about IoT, for example, it all depends on the kinds of sensor, where they are. So water meters, right? If they are just on the road, they are sort of underground, uh, they need to have reliable signal. So you need lower spectrum rather than the millimeter wave.
I
Millimeter
see.
will give you like a big speeds, and which is what Chang needs.
I see. Let me ask you a quick question before we move to Jessica and Chan. Is that where do you think in the world, right, is the benchmark for readiness in terms of the spectrum, the infrastructure and technology? Where will you kind of like recommend people to look
Yeah,
at as at least follow, and then while you're developing the kind of ecosystem or platform in England, right? Basically.
yeah. So three countries immediately come to my mind, right? Which is China, Japan, and South Korea. So
Oh, I see.
these three countries are always ahead of the game compared to everyone else. So even though some reports will try and say like, oh well, this country is better, that country is better, these three countries are the benchmark. They are very advanced, they have a lot of spectrum available, they have quite advanced infrastructure and use cases. So yes, these are the from my
Okay.
point of view, these are the top three countries.
Okay, understand. So now I want to move the question to Jessica and Chan again because they are the application and the user of the infrastructure, right? So Jessica and Chan, I mean, either way, we take turn. What do you need from the infrastructure provider or the equipment provider or the network provider to support you, right? To adopt their infrastructure, right, for 5G, right? Just be very open to requests. Maybe they'll provide the feedback to Cambridge Wireless or even the Huawei how to support ecosystem player like you all of you because you guys represent the value delivery, right? Chan or Jessica, feel free to jump in.
After Jessica, maybe.
Okay, Jessica, you have been requested by Chan.
Oh,
Oh, you want Chan? Chan, you want to? I mean, it's really I'm giving you a chance to request for what you need, right? It's okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Jessica is on mute.
I can't hear Jessica.
Oh, Jessica, we can't hear you. Yeah.
Still can't
No, we
hear.
can't hear Jessica. Maybe Chan, you can answer the question. What do you want? What do you need? Do you need money? Do you need what kind of help? What kind of assurance to be an early adopter, right? Don't be shy, right?
Uh, I mean, from our perspective, really, like as a startup, um, especially around technology startup, I think we probably have the uh, similar request as 5G infrastructure, saying the use cases, and really like what it's good to see that we are a great 5G use case where 5G really enables this remote access of robots in a more intuitive, efficient way. Uh, if we want some support from the 5G ecosystem, it's really like helping us that we could package everything together and co-offer to the end user that's as a full package that really we as a 5G user could actually offer something all in one package that's to the end user that's simplify their user experience. The second, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the second direction I think we will probably need more help is really the access of the technology that's that could more easily access 5G platform. I mean the Cambridge Wireless has done a very good job about allowing startups like us to access like a kind of private 5G network. Really for us, that really to benefit 5G in general is to be able to easily access 5G across the public space, and if there's a kind of 5G dongles that easily like cheap accessible by startup like us that we can just buy and upgrade our robots immediately 5G enabled, and that will just make our life much easier.
Okay, understand. Very helpful. It means you want these two support. I can understand. Makes sense. I think there's a reason we have this particular forum, right? Is to for a startup or SME, to actually join the ecosystem, right? And then both you and Jessica are here to provide your feedback in the real world, right? You're innovating, you're dealing with many challenges. So this feedback will be very helpful, right? To both Cambridge Wireless or even to Huawei as equipment provider. I'm sure they are the big guy, they can help you guys, but ultimately their success depend on your success, right? Yeah. Jessica, are you
Can you hear
solve
me
your
now?
audio problem?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can.
Okay.
Perfect.
Love to hear
Yes.
from you. This is your
Yes.
free chat to ask for anything you want.
Yes. No, I think it's a really good question. I think that, well, first of all, I feel that we are tremendous honor to be in this program. So I don't know if Chang agrees, but um, they have there have been some test bed around and a lot of efforts from in different countries. Actually, we can look at the advance of the 5G in different countries and how the different test beds have been doing. And but I think the opportunity to be one of the participants is a tremendous opportunity. So we are at the forefront in this if we think as comparing to other companies in the world, particularly small companies like us. And the kind of key things that I think are important to consider in this type of test bed. I think that there are two levels of support that we got, and I think that must be kept in all this type of pilots. Is one on the technical aspect, and Sahid mentioned that. So particularly if you're working or you're running private networks, there are some considerations that have to be taken into place. Um, And so all the tuning of the network is really important, and also thinking in which type of applications the different participants will deploy or will test. I think that are critical. The and the other thing that for us was really important related to the access to to the commercial side of this. We haven't discussed that too much today now,
Okay.
but I think is one of the critical things about the technology adoption, particularly in this case, relates to making a clear case to the client and to the sector of why they why we are moving towards this technology. So it's not just because it's nice to have. It's really important to understand what the key problems and needs and opportunities are from the side of the user. And
Okay.
having real and good business cases is what we need to work on. And being myself, as I have been working in the industry, from the oil and gas or the mining or the manufacturing, I need to have a real case to know why I have to move or change or adopt a new infrastructure in order to make this
Exactly.
something for me. And I
Okay.
think working together in all these aspects and trying to reduce the risk of the new technology adoption is what we have to work all together. So the collaboration of a test bed is critical. And the opportunity to work with the small companies, medium companies, large corporates, and the client is a really important thing, of course, beyond the infrastructure part.
Okay, understand. Very, very helpful. I hope they will compile the feedback from you, Jessica, and Chan. Now, actually, this question actually will come back to Zahid in a sense, right? I mean, I think I asked the question. You said the top three country: China, Korea, right, and then Japan, right?
Mm.
So I think the success or progress made there should be made into good, especially commercial side, right? What are the successful cases? Those are useful information for Jessica and Chan as and then there'll be lesson learned. I think that is where the infrastructure provider can actually help. Maybe with your help as well, Jahid, you are the expert in this area to kind of gather and curate all this information. In fact, my next question for you, which is going to be a tough question. We have actually less than 8 minutes left. Okay, is there is always every new technology that comes in, right? There is the risk of using it and the risk of not adopting it as well, right?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Okay,
Yep.
I give you a few minutes, just a few minutes to talk about that. What do you think for if you're a startup SME, right, or even big corporation, right?
Mm.
If you use it, what are the things you need to watch out for? And if you don't use it, what are you going to miss out, right? Basically, and could cause disruption to your business, right?
Yeah, so that's actually a good point, right? Because you think about it, like 3G is being switched off in many parts of the world, but 2G is not being switched off because there are a lot of still devices which use 2G. And if suppose something use 3G and you shut down 3G, they can still fall back on 2G. So with 5G, there are lots of interesting use cases. So one of them is basically the we call it as the V2X, or vehicle to anything. Basically, if you want to bring all kinds of things in vehicle, you may want to make them smart, right? So not just autonomous, but also like figure out what's going to happen, where there is an accident, where do you want to reroute, but you don't want to use like a separate sat nav software. This is something inbuilt in 5G. So this is one of the things. But you're right. So from the day-to-day applications, I think now is the time where companies who have used any kind of connectivity to start transitioning to something in the future. So minimum you need to have 4G. 4G is going to be around with us till at least 2035 kind of a time frame. So if it's something you don't want to spend too much money on, you don't need a lot of data, you don't need low latency, yeah, move to 4G. But if you want to have those kind of capabilities, you want to start thinking about 5G today, right? Because you start thinking about 5G, You start creating prototypes, you test it out. That's like 3 4 years gone. That is when 5G will basically start getting very fast adoption. So you have to prepare, you have to decide what kind of connectivity you need and when do you want to move.
Okay, cool. With the limited time left, I want to leave it to give it to Jessica and Chan, which is interesting. I think both of you are in the acceleration right program, right? The Spark under Huawei with Cambridge Wireless. Uh, Imagine you go through this whole program, right? I'm sure you're going to at least come up with one demonstration of a capability, right? Of your application with IoT or the robots, right? That actually leverage 5G. What would be that demo, right? I'm just curious, no?
Mhm.
In your case, is IoT in Chan, what would you demo to the whole world saying that because I'm going to this program, I'm using this 5G network, maybe even it's a pilot, right? What would be the demo, right? You want to tell people that will have the wow factor.
Yeah.
Now is your chance to showcase yourself, right?
Thank you for this. Well, actually, we did a demo, which is good, and
Which
it
is,
worked.
oh,
And the demo was we thought on the key features. Actually, as a result, we were able to get 2 new products, which is great for us.
okay,
It's really great. So one of the things, as I said, our solution combines the LP1 on one side, so the low power on one side, which is on the hardware, not from the sensors to the gateway,
okay,
and the other side is how actually we can get automatic notifications and alerts based on an artificial intelligence system that can make intuitive notification to the user, and that is the part which we say, okay, this is the more the real time, no?
oh,
So the case that we put together was what is the opportunity that 5G can bring as enabling technology for a massive IoT, and this real-time notification system. So for having access to more than just the sensors data. So briefly, what we did, well, briefly, it sounds super simple, but what we did was we put it in a scenario where you are for example, in the industry. Like imagine that you are working, let's say, in the production of water production site, and you have we have 500 sensors that were sending data simultaneously to our
okay,
gate, and they were sending data in using low power technologies, and they're sending data to our gateway. Our gateway is able to make the uplink through 5G to the cloud. And one thing that we realized is when we were using 4G or 3G as uplink, we put it more than 300 devices, we didn't have a response. So it was
I
saturated, the
see.
network. With 5G, we overcome that saturation. So actually, we
Okay,
can promise to our clients that actually our gateway can concentrate more than 1,000 of devices that are sending data simultaneously. That is quite important, considering the
okay,
critical part. And the other part that we wanted to prove, thinking in the low latency and actually high bandwidth part, which in our case as IoT probably was not so important, but what if we can have a system where you have an alert and you want to, so basically we have a communication with a video call with an operator. I was in Cambridge, and my CTO was sitting in Chile, in Santiago. Both of us were in a 5G network. So we did both extreme 5G communication with, of course, private networks, but we were both connected and transmitting data in a video call. While we were doing our video call, then our alert, our system, our dashboard gave an alert that there was a flooding alert from some of the areas where we have the water production. We received it simultaneously, and you can see in the video. And that moment, we were able to turn on a video camera that is on the side of the anomaly. So
Okay.
that real-time streaming, combining with the video communication plus the 500 devices sending data, is done simultaneously with the 5G network.
Okay.
That could have not been possible with the 4G, and we tried because it was saturated.
Okay.
So that is what we are. It was something that we found it was a good opportunity, especially if you have clients and in a dedicated environment, so of critical devices.
Got it. Hope to see that on the demo day on the after your acceleration, right? I think this is the wow factor we want to at least achieve, and if you can demonstrate that, I think that will create a lot of value, right? Now we actually exceeded our time, but it's okay. Chan, I want to know the on the demo day, what kind of wow thing you show that with 5G and without 5G of your solution, right? Basically.
I guess just one thing is that we completed the accelerator program.
Okay.
So what Jessica discusses was what have been put on the show on the demo day that's already demonstrated.
Okay.
So on the same day, what we demonstrated on the demo day was that it's kind of a mock-up for us that we're basically being able to use like off-the-shelf robotic arm that could acting as an avatar of the user that's mimicking the user's motion in VR. The user is using VR to control the robot arm, and the robot arm responds instantaneously while the user is moving. So it's mimicking exactly what user is doing.
I see.
And what user is doing is basically trying to switch off a kind of electrical switch, fuse switch, as a mock-up scenario where you probably have a broken high voltage switch, which is quite dangerous, and you're not sure which part of the system has high voltage that could damage you could harm the person who's doing it. So instead of the person doing it themselves, the robot could be used to do the exact same thing. The fact that the whole scenario was not cannot be done by pre-programmed robots or like completely autonomous robot. This has to be done by a robot that's remotely accessed, intuitively operated by someone remotely. So this really be the only solution that could deal with this type of tasks.
I see. Okay. If I imagine, it's basically you can demonstrate that a person is kind of manipulating through the system, but the robot in the remote area will be able to execute and do in real time exactly what you need to do. That will create a lot of opportunity, right? Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing all this highlight of your demo. Actually, I did not know that you guys have really completed, but it's okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you guys have some highlight as a result of the acceleration with the 5G technology, right? Unfortunately, we ran out of time. In fact, I'm actually quite surprised we actually ran out of time so quickly. I have so many things I want to talk to you all, but unfortunately, we don't have the time to talk about it. Maybe we have another chance to do another panel, which I really want to cover many complex topics, especially about AI and autonomous system, right? With such, appreciate all your time, Zahid and Jessica and Chan, right? Thank you very much and appreciate all your time. I hope to talk to you again on the next 5G panel. At the time, I'm sure you guys have real demo to show as well as real data. After Zahid have actually done all the gathering all the data from other best practice. Thank you very much. Okay. Talk
Thank
to you
you
again.
again.
Okay. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
And
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Appreciate it. Bye bye.